think back the notes that we took last week. We wrote in there that a ratio is comparing a part to a whole. And we also said another way of saying this is comparing is to of. And it's also comparing the percentage over 100. So we're going to use these notes to help us understand percentages, how to find a percentage, how to find the whole, or how to find the part. So make sure to keep these ratios in mind as we work our problems today. 15 is what percent of 75? In order to solve this, you need to remember your ratios and how they are proportional to percentages. So if I look at that, I can see 15 is what percent of 75. So I know that 15 is my part, 75 is my whole. And I need to find out what percent that is. Well, I'm looking for the percent, and that's over 100. So I've set up my proportion, my ratio, just like we've been doing our other problems. I can look at this fraction and I can easily say that this can be simplified. They both end in 5, so I'm going to divide each by 5, and it simplifies to 3 over 25. Now I want to look to see how can 25 turn into 100. I multiply that by 4. 25 times 4 equals 100, so I'm going to do the same at the top, times 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 over 100 is 12%. In this next example, you need to find the whole. So if your problem is 40 is 20% of what number? I know just by looking at that, here's 40 is, and I have 20%. I am looking for what number? This is of the whole. So I'm saying 40 is 20% of what whole number? Okay, so I'm going to set this up using the same ratios that we have over here. So 40 is, goes on top, 20% is right here. I'm going to put my percentage here, 20 over 100. And I am trying to find the whole of what? So I can see of goes here on the bottom. So I look at my two fractions and I look to see how does 20 turn into 40. That will help us understand what this equivalent fraction is going to be. Well, if I work backwards, I can see that 20 turns into 40 by multiplying by 2. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. At the bottom, multiply it by 2. So 100 times 2 is 200. So 40 is 20% of 200. In our last example, we're going to find the part. So when we look at our ratios, we have is the part of the whole. And we already know our percent is out of 100. So looking at our problem, what number is 70% of 200? 70% we know that's going to be 70 over 100. The other part we have to figure out, what number is 70% of 200? Of 200 is our whole. So therefore, our of goes in the denominator. And we are trying to find the part of the whole. So we are looking for the numerator. Okay, so now we're working with equivalent fractions here. So 100 turns into 200 by multiplying by 2. I do the same to my numerator, multiply times 2. So the answer 2 times 70 equals 140. 140 is 70% of 200.